Welcome to Impact Media Presents. It has been way too long, viewing audience. I have missed you, and I am so excited about how we're relaunching this year and what we have coming in store. And today we're launching a new mini kind of micro series called Impact Media Presents, Where Are They Now? And my very first guest is one of our most popular guests, and it's Dr. Clemmie Harris. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
My pleasure, my pleasure. It is good to see you again, Kelly.
It's great to see you too. And oh my goodness, a lot has changed since we connected, right? I mean, you were on the show a few times, and the very first time it was a call to action, a response to George Floyd's murder, and then the protests that followed and the police response to the protests.
That is correct.
That kept us up that Friday night and decided there on the moment, we're going live tomorrow and talking about, the historical context around protesting. And you just laid it out so beautifully over the course of, time, the hundreds and hundreds of years. And so why Black people protest and how and what's most effective. And then you came back and talked with some other leaders as we were preparing for Election Day. So it's great to see you as we're friends as well as, colleagues. It's such a pleasure to know. I know privately, and some of the world knows, but our viewing audience doesn't know everything. But you've had some changes in your life. You've had some changes in your position. And since that live stream, your platform has expanded, your role has expanded. And there's some other things that we want to talk about a little bit later. But why don't we start by sharing kind of the good news about, what happened for you after the live stream we'll start with right after George Floyd, because things really started taking off then.
Well, so thank you very much for those really wonderful, wonderful words. And it is always a pleasure to be in conversation with you about these extremely important issues. Following maybe a month and a half following our initial discussion, as we watched the protests unfold, I was asked to be director of Africana Studies at Utica College. The significance of that, thank you, the significance of that is that Utica College did not have an Africana Studies program. I had to create it. And that request was coming not only in the nascent stage of this global racial reckoning that was happening, but it was also 51 years after consistent activism by faculty and students at Utica College, right? And so for the first time in the near 75-year history of Utica College, it has an Africana Studies program. I established a minor in December of last year. I am now building the major, which will move forward through the various processes. I will say that it is a truly global program. There are 4 pillars. I will handle the sub-Saharan Africa and the African diaspora within the United States. Those are 2 pillars. A 3rd pillar will be North Africa, the Middle East, and Islam. And the 4th pillar will be the Afro-Latinx experiences in Latin America. So it is a truly global program. I've also been elevated to Associate Professor of History. Thank you. Thank you. So there has been a lot.
And what's the significance behind that? Because
So there are 4 echelons within the professoriate: assistant, associate, full professor, and distinguished professor. I am on step 2. That is some very significant news that has occurred all within actually less than the span of a year.
Yes. And doesn't that put you on track for tenureship?
So yes, the institution that I work at has a sort of bifurcated process when it comes to tenure. I am up for, I was achieved associate professor in 4 years' time. It typically takes about 5 to 6 years.
Mm.
And I am putting in a tenure package this August, which will be awarded, all things considered, a year from now.
I am so, so proud of you. And it is so well deserved. You've got other, I mean, I don't know. I don't think you sleep. We challenge each other to make sure we get our rest, but I don't think you've been holding up your end of that bargain.
You're probably right.
I need you to tell everybody about your books, because you've had a few things happen on the book front since last year too.
Right. So I'm the lead author in an edited volume called Black Politics in the City of Brotherly Love that examines significant electoral and protest activism in Philadelphia from the late 19th century to the present. I have 2 chapters in that book, which will be published this early winter by Temple University Press. Those chapters really are a type of window into the book that I'm working on now. I'm finishing up the 8th chapter in this book entitled Reconstructing Philadelphia, the persistence of racism and the African-American struggle for civil rights and power. And in this book, I examine or chronicle the efforts of Black leaders to basically expand the parameters of American democracy, which was never designed to actually represent Black people. And so I look at that fight in the nation's first city, the city that is deemed to be the home of the Constitution, the city that is deemed to have been the most liberal city, but I examine the ways in which Black people conceptualize and then sought to redefine democracy in the nation's first city. I'm also looking at the 8th chapter I'm working on, looks at how Black leadership takes off in the post-civil rights era. And it tries to explain how we get to the first Black mayor in Philadelphia, but it also argues that there was a trade for that political ascension. The issues of race in a mayoral contest get significantly marginalized, and there are consequences for the elevation of a Black person to a mayoralty and the unresolved issues of slavery and Jim Crow, right? And so I talk about that, and I argue that that trade is a key thing for understanding how police departments continue to be unreformed and how that can be understood as a connection for the racial reckoning that is unfolding in the current moment, right? What happened in Black politics is a very important point for understanding what is happening in our current moment.
And thank you for that segue, because with the little time that we have left, there's something I really want and need you to talk about. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate your willingness to share. I saw a post from you, but I got a call first, and I appreciated that, letting me know about the incident that happened to you. And so, you know, where do we start here? I'll just introduce it a little bit. When you called me the other night to tell me that you were the victim of being profiled just by sitting in your car and having a conversation in a parking lot, and deemed, you know, a threat by a white woman who was pretty much surveilling you, I was stunned. I'm like, this is Dr. Henry Louis Gates, you know, all over again. He was at his home. You were in your own car, minding your own business. Please tell our viewers what happened and what you want and need everyone to know, how to de-escalate when confronted and put in these very uncomfortable and unfair, might I add, positions.
Right, so thank you for that. So on Sunday, I had taken a brief break from work on my book, and I essentially went to my favorite Chinese restaurant to order food. It was about 20 minutes before it would be ready. Typically, I go across the street directly across the street to a Kinney's drugstore to use their ATM to pay with cash, in part because I like to leave tips for the children of this restaurant. I know the family. I know the children. The family is from Philadelphia. We bond over Philadelphia. And so it is my way of really, recognizing their effort and always talking to them about the importance of college. This is for your college fund, I say. So while on the phone, I didn't get a chance to get into the store. I was speaking with the vice chair of the NAACP, providing counsel on Juneteenth. We were on the phone. We were there for about 50 minutes talking. And all of a sudden I look up and two police cars come in the parking lot of the drugstore. It was roughly 6 o'clock in the evening. And one goes to the left of me. The other goes to the right of me. I don't think anything of it because I haven't done anything wrong. And it is important to acknowledge it's, a bright, bright sunny day. I'm on an extremely busy central thoroughfare in this predominantly white suburb. And it is the epitome of being in the public square. I can see a police officer approach me to the left, at which time I realize that they are there for me. At that moment, I abruptly pull away from the conversation with the vice chair. I focus on the police officer. My voice becomes extremely measured, my eyes fixed, and my hands locked on my steering wheel so that the officer could see them. He begins to tell me that they received a telephone call about a suspicious person in a vehicle. And he says, but I am now able to see that you are having a conversation. And I said, I am not a suspicious person. I am literally having a conversation. I have been here having a conversation. I'm also a retired member of the New York State Police, but I did not flinch to produce my credentials because there was an officer on my right on the blind side. I had not yet felt that the situation was significantly de-escalated for me to move. Why? Because of Philando Castile. Philando Castile told the officer, I am armed. He did not want the officer to become escalated by a firearm. He was given permission to go in and unlock his glove compartment and produce, and he was shot and killed. So in the back of my mind, I am thinking, this guy is not on my left, is not significantly comfortable, and the guy on my right is going to feed off of his movement. I have to continue to de-escalate. Finally, the situation did get de-escalated. And he said, well, you know how it goes. We get a call, we have to come. And I said, yes, I understand. He said, and you were out here for 50 minutes. And I said, in a essentially public parking lot, not marked private, no trespassing. And he says, you're perfectly right. We apologize. Please feel free to stay. And I said, no, I'm going to move across the street. As the conversation was wrapping up and my peripheral vision to the right, I could see the white woman leave the store and get in her car and go home. And so, there are a couple of reasons why I was asked to post this conversation. First and foremost, when I got across the street, the vice chair was apoplectic, and I understood why. She was listening to all of this and her heart started to race. She did not understand why my conversation got diverted, but the moment she realized what was happening, her heart started to race. And so I had to speak with her to get her calmed down. And it was at her request that I posted, because what she said I thought made perfect sense. This could happen to anyone that looks like you. And you have to help people understand how to de-escalate a situation. Now, I will say to you that it has taken me that happened on a Sunday. I came back home and went back to work. By Tuesday, I realized that I was extremely angry and I was suffering anxiety from what was certainly post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yes.
And I can't say that I am fully over it. Today is the first day that I've been able to show an inkling of my normal work pattern. But it is also indicative of perceptions, right? I could have been there ill. I could have been there because my car broke down, but I was deemed a suspicious person. And for your listeners, I want them to understand that more Black people get killed in interactions with police because of suspicious person calls, because of minor traffic incidents. It all starts as a very minor situation that can explode in the wrong direction within the blink of an eye. And the fact that a white woman deemed me a threat meant that I had to acknowledge her fear and her humanity while simultaneously suppressing my own, if I was going to make it out of that situation alive, or make it out of that situation without being arrested. Because as surely as I'm having this conversation with you, I was angry.
Right. Absolutely. And so was I after, I was heading to bed when I got your call, and then, I was fired up for a while. I didn't sleep that well. On Wednesday, I was angry all day, and angry and sad for a few reasons. And that definitely contributed to it. But I'm so glad that we have platforms like this where we can share this information. So, in closing, why don't you just say, if you're in a situation, give 3 tips to how to get out of it.
Right.
And following what you did is really helpful. It also, you had an advantage having been in law enforcement previously and being able to say that to them. But a lot of people don't have that and don't, know how to maneuver in that way. But if you could leave the viewers, with things that they can do themselves as well as share with their children, no matter how unfair or how idiotic it seems of us being, labeled suspicious, how we need to respond in order to leave alive.
Right. So keep in mind that nothing is foolproof, right? But the first thing that should always come to your mind is self-preservation, right? Your goal is to get out of the situation with your life and your freedom intact, right? And so the first thing is that the officer is going to read your eyes. They're going to read your voice. They're going to read your body. They're going to read where your hands are, right? And so you want to be able to project that you are fully calm and fully capable of giving answers to any question that is provided. You do not want to get excited, because that excitement only increases the fear that the officers have that they will lose control of the situation. And their very presence is to maintain control, even if that control means that you are physically assaulted and, worst case scenario, you are killed. So you want to be able to present a very calm demeanor. You do not want to make any sudden movements, and you want to be able to read the officer's body language. Does the officer appear to be relaxing? If the officer does not appear to be relaxing, then you still have more work to do in terms of de-escalating. That's if you are alone. If you are with others, the first thing that you want everyone to know is to be calm and to make sure that their hands are visible. So if there's someone sitting to the right of you and you are the driver, their hand should go on the dash. If there are folks that are in the back seat, their hands should go on the back seat so that all hands are visible, and people should remain silent until such time as a question is asked, right? The final thing that I would say is, while righteous indignation is a natural human response when you have not done anything wrong, it is not in your best interest to show anger in that moment, in part because, unfortunately, there is a lack of empathy that exists within law enforcement today. That is one of the reasons why debates about critical race theory, Africana studies, the 1619 Project are so very important. It is only through intellectual consciousness, a type of historical consciousness, learning about the other, that we can develop empathy. But if you are resistant to learning about other people, you are also resistant to learning and having empathy for other people. In the absence of empathy, you must think self-preservation.
Clem, thank you so much. And while you're here, I want to wish you a happy Juneteenth. So excited that that's a national holiday. We may need to come back to talk about that one. As you know, Juneteenth is a special day for me. I was liberated to pursue my dream. It's the day I arrived in California. So lots of great things going on for Juneteenth here in Los Angeles. I'm sure you've got your calendar full as well. But thank you so much for joining us today. And I know you're going to be back soon. And thank you so much for sharing the great news, your promotions, all the great work, the establishment of the Africana Studies program, as well as the lessons learned from your experience on Sunday. So thank you so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you again soon, my friend.
My pleasure. Be well and stay safe, Kelly.
Thank you. Take care, and God bless. Thank you so much for joining us today for the return of Impact Media Presents and the launch of Where Are They Now? So lots in store. Look forward to seeing you real soon. Take care. Again, happy Juneteenth. God bless.